probably know needs of my talk, that music is just so wonderful. I mean,
Yes.
letting go is really the heart of what I want to talk, and Grant helped pick that song out, so thank you, that was perfect. This is a fabulous month's presentation of Loving Who You Are, and it's obviously a lifelong journey, and it really wants to start, sometimes we just miss that with all the activity in the world, and how do we capture the feeling of loving who you are, and then moving that feeling to knowing who you are. So there's going to be some reoccurring statements in this talk, and point of entry really is a place of deepening and taking that journey of deeply listening to our interior self and questioning, and then having those assets available to ourselves, how that becomes an exploration, and we find a way to deepen our spiritual journey, so there's a sense of knowing, and that becomes dramatically important as we face the intensity of our life experience, whatever that is. And we're here all as passengers, on this voyage, and it's kind of, there are going to be intense moments. And so it's really valuable, it's been really valuable in my life, in my intense moments, to have an ongoing sense of what it is to have a spiritual foundation. So, I think every moment has the potential of going deeper for us, but we're so often caught up in the mechanics of life that we don't take that time, and it really can't. We have things to attend to function in this world. But when we can, to have the moments that really get our attention. So I'm going to do a number of things that some of them are kind of silly, some of them are kind of whatever they are. They're going to land here. So, but they're meant to just sort of to get your attention and to get a sense of something that wasn't really immediately in your awareness, all of a sudden it is. So the first one I want to do, and some of you might have done this kind of thing before, but I just want you to put your hands up like this and rub them really hard. This is a really good thing for Montana. So then take them apart and then start doing this. And as you do that, there's an energy cushion there. And that's something that we aren't generally aware of. So I just wanted you to get a handle on nothing. But this is a sense of that we are energetic beings, and we have an etheric shell around us. And as you become aware of that, people that work with this, it becomes very healing, because each organ, each part of our body has a vibrational quality, and we can resonate with that. And so that is just another point of awareness, another point of entry. Charles Wright, the invention of Charles Wright, he was a National Poet Laureate 2014 and 15. And he's a Tennessean, but has his heart in Montana. And he has a cabin up in the Yak. And this poem that he wrote, and I just have one line in this poem that has just stayed with me for years. But it's, I have created a hole in the silence, a tiny one, just large enough for a word. And that is such a magnificent line to me, that we do have silence around us, and we're so unaware of it because we're so overstimulated. We have such everything coming at us constantly that we're processing and dealing in this world. So to begin to understand that there's this silence, but that we have to not just flood it, but we have to find a point of entry into that silence. And once we do, he doesn't identify the word, but as soon as I read that line, it was what I'm drawn to, and I think all of us are drawn to, is to put the word love into that tiny hole, and that becomes the universe of silence. And so that's a beautiful, in my mind, a beautiful point of entry. Humor is such a fabulous point of entry. And so I'm going to tell a joke, hopefully it'll be funny. A friend of mine was asked, we're all here in such a short time, what do you think about death? How would you like to die? And he said, well, really, like my father, I'd like to die quietly, just peacefully in my sleep. Not like his screaming passengers. And that's a really good joke. I'm glad everybody laughed. It almost feels sacrilegious. Anyway, it's a great line about being a screaming passenger to build on, because I think a good part of our life, depending on the intensity, we're all screaming passengers, and we lose that point of entry, that point of going deeper in our lives. So I just want to leave some silly thing. This has been in my head for a long time. I've been trying to get rid of it, and I don't usually share it, but this might be this might be something that is a little bit nuts. Okay, anyway, it's does anybody know what that is? It's a vicious circle. These are my horns here, the devil speaking. But I think we all lose our points of entry when we find ourselves in vicious circles, in various degrees of that. We have a voice that we're processing, we're dealing, and we miss what is truly here. So anyway, I hope that doesn't haunt you as a vicious the largest piece of entry, I feel like, is what we all work toward, and it's really captured in, for me, it's captured in one word, atonement. But the word atonement is, because of its religious heritage, I think, it becomes a really large word. It becomes really awkward. So if you ask anybody, I ask myself, what does it mean? What does atonement mean? I start conceptualizing, I start thinking, it's like, okay, what does that mean? If we hyphenate the word, it becomes at one-ment. I can really grab onto that, and I can feel solid with a direction on that. And it's also, it can be hyphenated again as a tone. And if you're LeGrand, it would be a tune. So I want to focus on at one-ment, and I think what it is that in any spiritual path, it becomes something that we're aware of, and how do we become at one? What is the point of entry to becoming at one? And so it puts it in a way, it puts it in the future. And I was thinking of it the other night, as being a little kid on a car trip, you know, and you don't really quite know where you're going. And the only thing you do is like, are we there yet? And so at one minute becomes a step away from us. But if we bring it in a way that says, I want to go back in time to a place that I know in my heart that I am one. And so what that really means is there's a letting go of your life story. And all of us have an enormous investment in ourselves. And so the parts that we have, that we feel really good about, the connections that we've made, the love that we have, flows through us, and it's generative. And it's really easy to feel that. There are many other parts that get trapped inside, and we don't feel so good about. And we have this powerful mind that can take one word, denial, and make that a center part of our lives. And so we can't carry the load of the stuff that's gone on that we don't feel complete about. And so we just kind of bury it. But what that creates is a place where we don't feel at one. There's parts of us that aren't available. So the desire and the work of letting go of your story is absolutely enormous. I mean, it's a very important, powerful work. And in my mind, it's the only way that we really become at one, because we get rid of our story, and there's a really clean space there to work with, and we identify that as presence. And you feel that. You feel like the people that you know that have done enough work on themselves, they're not speaking, coming from a place of some whatever kind of disruption. And it's a resonance, it's a feeling, it's a quality of a deep quality that you just sort of you feel presence. I think that's really what we do. Werner Erhard did a tremendous amount of work with what I want to talk about next here and how this relates to presence, really. And are people familiar with EST? As it got very popular in the 60s and 70s when he brought it in. It's transformed today into the landmark forum. But his EST is a Latin word for is. And his big thing was, let's talk about your story. Let's find a way to release that. And a big part of his talk, his work is, what is it? What is it? And is a powerful word, and I think if we just have is, how does that stand alone? And the only large word that I feel fits that, God is, and it doesn't need any more definition. Love is, and that becomes very whole. His work was saying, what is it for you? What's your life's path? Let's look at this. And the work was drawing a big circle, a couple circles. One has fact, the other big circle is story. And if we really look at this, we have a fact that we're here. And that's basically all. The rest of it is our story. And so if we're able to let go of our story, there's something much larger for us to move into. never really touched me that much because it was being a child of the 60s, there was a huge thing with encounter groups and all that kind of stuff, and I got into that at one point. And it's like this, touching who you are, telling your story, and trying to expose yourself. And you can be around for a weekend and you stay up all, for like 72 hours and just like, this is who I am. I'm not hiding anything any longer. And that was part of the US training. It was kind of this endurance thing to get through to what's story and what's fact. And I think in this setting, what my life's understanding is at this point is that there really wants to be a third circle. And at some point, there's a real conscious surrender of my life story into spirit. That the story is just too, I don't care about writing another story. I don't want to be, I want to make a story that I'm going to be rich and famous, but I don't really, I don't want to let go of an old story and create another story. I want to say, listen, there's something that I don't really understand, but I know it's an energetic field, and I want to surrender this life into a feeling of spirit, and having that be our story, that there's connection at a very, very deep level. I think I just wanted to go back a minute for Earhart, and it's once we get a feeling of God is, then it becomes taking his language. If it's what is it, what is it, and I was thinking about this morning on the way down here. It's like a big cosmic game of tag. So God is, and we're it. It's a really nice connection. And I think most of us spend time running around and not recognizing that. We're looking for God, and we don't recognize that he's out there ready to tag you anytime. So that seems like a really good game. And there's so many child games that are good. I mean, last time I talked, it was the hokey pokey about trying to put your whole self in. And they're profound things. Tag is, if you're going to play cosmic tag, I think it's a good one. Okay, we're down to stopping talking here. I'm going to have to come back again. It's crazy. Anyway. All right, this is something I'd really like to do. Zev and I have had some beautiful talks, and her point of entry has been the passage of her son, and Mickey and Michael. And I'd really like to honor that. I'd like all of us to honor that. And I would like to do something that I haven't really done in this kind of setting. I have some personal practice that I kind of work on this. But thank you. I'd like to chant, sing into Zev's life, and I think beyond this experience, this is something that all of us can carry, and when we do this, kind of let our voice come through this, that we can say our name, and what it is how I love you, and having that kind of move through us. And what that really is a release of our story, that who we really are is this fully loving being, and we've created a story that's only a partial picture of all that. And so to really bring that through us is a really powerful thing, especially when you're dealing with illness and accidents and so forth, that that if you're in a time of stress, do this for yourself. Take your name and sing it, and let it come through. But I'd love to do this, and I'm not a, Donna thinks I can sing, but I don't, anyway, I'd like you to just come through, and I want to say Zeva's name is a beautiful lyrical name, and so let's just exercise that, and then maybe 2 times of how I love you in 3. So I'll try to lead that, and just help me out with it. So let's try to do this. Okay. I need to open up water. I'd like everybody to let go with that. Thank you, God. That's it.